I think a lot of what I see as anxiety is just an overflow. Many times there's so much love and you begin to see a broken world and you begin to see broken hearts and you want to do so much and be able to touch so many and reach so many that it can just turn to a thing like, I can't do it. How do I love my daughter good enough? How do I love my son good enough? How do I do all these things good enough? And I'm like, Lord, just leave me in the game. And let me be in the game and let me continually reside and run into your presence and walk with you and be strengthened by you. And wherever I go, it doesn't need to be scripted. I don't need 3 points in a poem. I don't need an outline. I don't need to have all the answers before I get there, because if I do, I'm not walking with you. What I'm doing is I'm always walking into new territory where God is saying, oh, you're welcome, because every territory is my territory. And there's no place where you're going to go where he isn't. Listen, get connected to that. Embrace your battle, embrace your struggle, embrace your pain, embrace your heartache, embrace your suck, embrace what you're going through, because you can't see that what you're going through is growing you. And it might not be growing you financially, and it might not be growing you physically, and it might not be growing you fiscally. Is there anybody that's in here that's fiscal? Okay, because I don't know what fiscal means, but I know it's connected to financial. And you have a fiscal responsibility. But you know what? Everywhere you can be doing well in your health and poor in your wealth. Listen, there's somebody in here today that's doing good in your wealth and poor in your health. And there's somebody in here today that's doing good in your health. Did I just say that one? Good in your wealth and poor in your health. And there's always areas in our life. There's always areas in our lives where instead of running from, we just got to lean into. And you just need to go out to that battery cable of the Holy Spirit in your heart and just say, you know what? You're just a little disconnected. You know why? You let fear kind of rock that thing a little bit. And you know, you're just a little bit disconnected because you're getting insecure and you're letting your insecurities run wild. And you're starting to think that this Jesus is for everybody but you, and this life is for everybody but you. But it's God calling you. And the reason you're saying those things is because God's working in your heart. And I called my old mechanic friend down. And he had his mechanic toolbox. And I said, you got to get me one of those, man. I'd carry it to church. I'd carry it everywhere I go just so people say, there's a man. Not only do I pronounce Bible names, I carry a toolbox around town. Imagine the power living in this flesh. And my mechanic friend came down and I said, you know what? This is it, dudes. I said, you know what? It's just a loose connection. And my friend said, I got the tools to tighten it. You know what? You came in here with a little bit of a loose connection, and Jesus has the tools to tighten it. And so you know what? I'm driving around, and my battery ain't bouncing around in there. It's tight. It's connected. You know what I had to do? I had to learn that I can trust the start again. I have to learn that it wasn't a bad car, and it wasn't a bad battery, and it wasn't a bad, what else is in cars? It wasn't a bad lubers. The lubers were good. The spinners inside were good, and the rods were all rodding. Spinners were spinning, the lubers were lubing. The pistons were firing. I don't actually think there's pistons in my car. Are there spark plugs that make pistons fire? I have a V8. That means there's 8 V's inside that thing. Which is really weird to me because those little batteries you buy are like, aren't they like, what are they called? With the 2 ends on the side? 6 volts? 9 volt. It's a V9. My car's a V8. And my mechanic friend was so humble. Yeah, I know what he did. He opened his trunk and he showed me all the little tools he has. He was showing off. And I was like this. You should see my socket wrench set. He got in there and looked at the battery and he said, I can see it because you left the socket in there from the last time. And it wasn't the right size. And you couldn't get it out of there. And you know what? That's why we're going through this, because you tried to tighten something that you really didn't know how to tighten. But you know what? For an afternoon, I looked to my neighbors like I was a mechanic. I was up in there going, which I don't know what I'm doing. And then I couldn't get the stinking thing off the stinking thing. So instead of looking, I just said, oh, that's good. It's tight. You know, and sometimes I feel like I'm doing better as a Christian when I'm just looking like I know what I'm doing. But you know what? When I'm looking like that, I got a battery that's just shaking around in there all the time. And it's just a matter of time before something happens that I hit a bump that I can't handle, that connection comes loose. And the next thing you know, I'm going, well, I exhausted all my resources. And my buddy says, I got a tool. I got a round thing with square looks in it that will fit any screw you've got. There's nothing under that hood that I can't handle right now. And you know who says that to you? The Lord. You got your one little stinking socket down in your battery of all you've tried all your life to do, and the Lord is pulling out and he's saying, look at this. I'm going to tighten that connection for you. And you know what I get in my car now? I feel like a man. I honestly think I grow chest hair when it starts up now. I'm not even kidding you. You know why? Because I kind of did that. I mean, I recognized that it was a bad connection, and the mechanic tightened it, but I'm like, my connection is solid now. Check your connection. Check your connection. The thoughts, the fears, the anxiety, you know, and just rest today in the reality that God is here. God is with you. You maybe just needed to hear that today, and he's got a tool for everything, and you are going to leave and go through what you're going through tighter and more connected and more confident when it comes time to start and go where you need to go and do what you need to do and be who you're called to be. And you just say, Lord, it don't matter what comes next. I've seen your toolbox.